Here is your host, Dean Masich.
Welcome back to Hashtag Kangaroos, a podcast where we break down everything about the mighty Roos. You can find me on X at Hashtag Kangas or on Instagram at Hashtag Kangaroos Podcast. Tonight, it's going to be a fun podcast. I certainly didn't expect it, probably Sunday morning, but Sunday night I was on top of the world, and I'm joined by the one and only Mark. Hello. And what a game that was. What did you make of it, Mark?
Oh, that was the most enjoyable game of footy I've watched for probably, close to a decade. Probably 2014, 15. It is a decade. That's the best four-quarter performance I've seen in 10 years.
It was good. Yeah, it was right up there. Look, it's sort of. I think we spoke off air about this. It did remind me a little bit of Melbourne in round two, but even you mentioned that that was pretty much we blew them away in the last quarter.
Yeah.
It wasn't really. We weren't really in control of the game for the four quarters like we were yesterday, and the big takeaway was control. North controlled the game from the first bounce right through to the final siren. The Roos dominated possession, used the ball well with plenty of uncontested marks, and most importantly, beat Port Adelaide at the contest. That set the tone all day, I felt like, Mark.
Yeah, I found it really interesting listening to the audio on watching, because you guys were live. I'm obviously up near the border of Queensland, so I couldn't get there. I'll get to the game. So I'm watching it on TV, and I was watching it on delay. So I watched the pre-game. And just listening to Larky talk to the players, him being interviewed before the game and then talking to the players before the game, all he talked about was players needing to play their role and not needing to be the man. And if everyone plays their role, it's interesting. I've never heard that before in terms of the main vernacular that was coming out of the club. Anyway, it was interesting, and it's continued since then, but it proved to be not just words. They really did play that way. And Dylan Stephens probably exemplified that better than anyone with his defensive efforts, his tackling, smothering. He and Simpkin on the wings, that was one of the two key things to me that stood out. Those two players that stood out just in terms of defensive efforts, but it happened across the ground. I mean, I haven't seen our forward line keep the ball in there like that ever before, to be honest.
Cactus on your back shoulder. Now, this is a person, Mark, when I talk about cactus on your back shoulder, not like last week, has just come into the chat quickly and said 6-0, 6-0. So, not that we're all getting carried away, that's for sure. Now, if you go down to the back line, the move of Luke Parker back there was fascinating. He looked like a real general across half-back. His communication, organisation and leadership were obvious. Exactly the kind of direction this defensive group needs right now, because it can lack all those qualities that he brings.
They can be a bit flaky. That's true. That said, they're obviously a very tight-knit group, particularly the three tools, Logue, Chom, and Pink. And I just can't believe a guy who's been at the club for 3 weeks can come in and play like that. You've got to wonder now how good he can be as a mature age player that we've got for nothing. So what a bonus with a few injuries, with a few of our key sort of small backs out. Although clearly we're not getting Archer back for the rest of the season. But who's the left footer?
Hardiman,
yeah. I mean, he'll be available soon, but they don't need to rush him back now. They can be cautious about that, but they'll want to get him back in the side at some point soon. But yeah, I mean, I was blown away by the first gamer, and yeah, I just think you're quite right in terms of Parker's leadership through that whole game was fantastic, and he looks terrific playing behind the ball. I can't imagine them changing that now. It made such a big difference.
It gives us depth because Riley Hardiman should be back this week. I don't know if he comes straight in. He's missed a fair chunk of the last few weeks. So
it's a bit like George.
A
week ago, we would have said rush him back, ASAP. Now it's like, well, we don't need to rush him. Let's take our time. Like, do we really want George to fly to Perth?
Not on a dodgy hamstring, no. Not with the
No.
high altitude. So, yeah, no, there's no rush with that now. The midfield was outstanding, like we just spoke about. And speaking of outstanding, Charlie Comben competed strongly in the air, defended with confidence, looked really composed. In fact, all the tools across the ground did their job well. 14 intercept possessions. Charlie Comben had 6 more than the next best on ground. Griffin Logue, I think we have to accept that he can be prone to the occasional error, but overall the structure held up pretty well, and so did he. And your boy, Tom Blamires, Mark, I'll go through his stats. 23 disposals, 396 metres gained. And what stood out straight away was his leg speed and that beautiful kicking action. He looked composed, confident, and ready for the level. It really does feel like Will Thursfield has done it again. I'm not going to give any praise to Brady Rawlings because he wouldn't have found him, but I think Will Thursfield has found him, and he's found another player.
Didn't he find Trembath as well?
He did. That's exactly right, and he's found another player from out of nowhere, Mark. So yeah, full credit to Will Thursfield here.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit like Geelong when you get some draft picks, or in their case, a lot of father-sons. But when you get some high draft picks and then you pick up 2 or 3 players and you get them for nothing, like if Trembath was number 1 in the draft and he'd kicked 3 goals in his first 4 games and he played for Collingwood, for example, the media would be going ballistic. They'd be saying, he's got to win the Rising Star, he's a superstar. They'd be absolutely raving about him. But because he came in the mid-season draft, no one's barely talking about it. But to kick 12 goals in your first 4 games after coming out of club footy, like he wasn't even he hardly played any VFL games. He played some local district footy for Blackburn, and now he's done a pre-season. And like I think he was pretty good on Sunday, but I think he's going to get even better. Like he just missed a couple of grabs, 20 metres out, but it's just a bit unlucky, just one of those things. But he looks like he could absolutely tear it apart. So, and he's good in the ruck. Look really good in the ruck. He won more tap outs than Cherry, and Cherry obviously wore them down, wore his opponent down, Visentini, big time over the game. He was brutal, but yeah, just talking about recruiting. Those 2 guys, and you've got to throw Stevens in because he was the top 5 or top 7 draft pick. We picked him up for round 2, and there's a lot of scepticism about him. But now he looks like an absolute bargain.
No, he certainly does. Yeah, so that's only good things for those individuals going forward. Cooper Trembath. I don't think I've seen a player have such an impact as a forward in his first 4 games since probably Adrian McAdam back in the 90s, where he kicked about. He was kicking goals for fun. He kicked about 30 goals. He's a bit tougher
than Adrian, but Adrian was
different types of player.
Different type of player. Adrian was super skillful. He was a freak, really. He was kicking 7 or 8 a game at one point. He was unbelievable. I mean, I was going watching all those games. He was out of this world, but unfortunately, didn't.
It disappeared just as quickly as he came, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Whereas I think Cooper might be there for a decade.
Well, yeah, we certainly hope so.
Yeah.
We'll definitely talk more about the forward line soon, but you look at the midfield battle, and that's where North really controlled the game. It's incredibly exciting when you think about the mix in there. Aldi and Schuzel leading the way, but also Finn O'Sullivan almost playing a defensive role on Zach Butters, who's one of the best midfielders in the competition. I actually think he's going to leave at the end of the year. You have to start to think, Mark, we've found a core of our midfield for the next 10 years. You throw in George Wardlaw there, touch wood, and fingers crossed that he can stay healthy as well.
Yeah, and you've got depth with Urquhart, who will only they can take their time with him. They don't have to rush it. He doesn't have to become a seniors player in the next 12 months, really. He can be a depth midfield player for us when we need a defensive player, because Foss did a great job defensively, but he'll be an attacking player more often than not in the future. And the other part of the midfield is the 2 wingers. You've got 2 dominant wingmen now, who run both ways defensively, which then gives more scope for Luke Davis-Uniacke and Sheasel and Wardlaw to run forward and be more aggressive. So the balance looks really good, and Power was terrific too, by the way. So yeah, there's not much weakness in that midfield. It looks really good.
Well, let's talk about the wingers now. Dylan Stephens, that might be the best game he's ever played. 29 disposals, 9 scoring involvements, 536 metres gained, and he covered an incredible 15.7 kilometres during the match, the most of anyone on the ground. Plus, he kicked a really crucial goal. I think it was the second quarter.
First quarter. He kicked.
Was it first quarter?
Yeah, it was a fantastic goal. Yeah. When we were struggling a bit, that lifted the whole side.
Oh, definitely did. I still like the look of Simpkin on the wing as well. He seems more relaxed this year. I was watching him very carefully up on the second level, and he seems to be really enjoying his footy again. The pressure of carrying the midfield or carrying the team as captain isn't on him anymore, and it feels like he can just focus on playing good football. And he wasn't the best, on the weekend, but certainly played his role and kicked a nice soccer goal as well.
He's tough too. Like, he stood under some high balls. He played. Like, both of them did the right thing defensively as well. So it wasn't. I mean, as supporters, we generally judge players by what they're doing when they're around the ball, when they've got the ball. I think the coach and the coaching group and the leadership group are now judging the team about what they're doing when they don't have the ball, and that's this constant theme of play your effing role, as Larky kept saying just before the first bounce.
He certainly swore a lot.
He did. He was a lot of play your effing role, but that is the way they're thinking at the moment. And Clarkson, after the game, when they showed that video 24 hours later, whenever it was, what he said to them after the game, he didn't talk about anyone who did anything flashy. He only talked about players. He thanked the guys that did the defensive stuff well. He might not have been the top 5 best on the ground. So that's obviously going to be the theme for quite some time now, about play your role, you'll stay in the side. You don't have to get 20 possessions. You don't have to kick 5 goals. You do the right thing and you'll stay in the side. And if you don't, it'll be, you might be making way for George Wardlaw or someone like that. But clearly they're not asking Duursma to kick 5 goals. They want him tackling. They want him pressuring, and you'll get your chance. Eventually, you'll have your day where you kick 5. It might not be this week, but we'll get the result, and you'll be part of the rewards. You'll be recognised internally for that. Don't worry about what anyone else is saying. So that's a big change culturally at the club. It's interesting. That hasn't really been the way they've thought for the last, and we've all been frustrated, like what's going on defensively. There's no standards with that, all this sort of thing. It makes you wonder, though, that once the coach, someone in Clarkson's position, wait a little bit before they go really hard on that till he thinks they're ready for that. I don't know. It's really interesting, but clearly now there's no option if you want to play on the side. If you're not prepared to do the defensive things, you won't play. So that's Ross Lyons obviously done that the whole time he's been at St Kilda. It is taxing on players, so it's interesting that Clarko maybe waited a couple of years before going to that. But obviously now there's no more time to waste. They had to start playing that way from the beginning of this year. So it's interesting to me that that's become the absolute core focus, and it certainly made a big difference.
Well, it seems like they're taking a lot of learnings from the women's program with what they're saying. Now, the women's program has always been about playing your role and just doing the team thing and getting better each time. They've always been process focused rather than result focused. The results have taken care of themselves. They haven't lost a game for 2 years, but they've always been about the process. And it felt like a little bit of that. And I felt like I was watching a little bit of that on the weekend, that they were dropping. They didn't want goals out the back, like we've conceded a lot probably in the last few years.
Yeah.
And they always seemed to, like, it was either Luke Parker or Charlie Comben was trying to drop back into space, so they didn't get an easy one out the back. It did happen a couple of times, but generally speaking, they held up pretty well. And it just feels like they're getting a little bit, maybe Clarkson's been talking to Darren Crocker a bit, and they've been getting a few learnings from that. I know they were talking to Libby Birch. I think it was last week, a bit and her thoughts and asking her a few questions. So maybe they're just getting a few learnings from that, and it's not a bad place to start. I mean, they have been undefeated for 2 years, so. Whatever they've done in the last couple of weeks, whether it's been the last couple of weeks or it's been all pre-season, it seems to be working, Mark. So that's all you can ask.
It's interesting because we said off air, I didn't see that coming in the 2 practice matches at all.
No, no one saw that coming.
No, so they've flicked a switch. Whether they held things back a little bit during the practice matches, because that was a very different attitude. They went into that game. It was just the selfless nature of the way they played. Like I've not seen them play like that. I can't even remember the last time I've seen them play like that. Over 4 quarters, sustained effort, the tackling and the pressure. That's the best I've seen for years and years. We've had quarters where we do that. We had a half against Collingwood. I think it wasn't even last year. It might have been the year before. We were 50 points up at half time.
That's right. Yep.
Pressure was unbelievable, then completely collapsed and they ran over the top of us. That was from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. It didn't change. Nothing changed.
I'm trying to remember when we missed a tackle, whereas in the first couple of pre-season games.
Doveston missed one early on. And then,
that's right.
That and the commentators got into him. I remember that.
Yeah, it was flimsy. Yep.
Yeah, and I think that was against... That was against the gun player, Butters. It was against Butters.
Oh, Butters is quite strong too. So
I mean, against the first-year player. I'm not even going to go Doveston, by the way, with that. I'm just saying that stood out as the only one that they missed the whole game. And he's an example of someone who will get, like, the speed of the game probably shocked him a bit, coming from a practice match, Ballarat into Marvel Stadium and a full-on AFL game. But he's only going to get better. So,
definitely.
But yeah, the tackling was fantastic and really strong. Like they didn't look like kids anymore. They looked really like a full-on strong side.
Yeah, and I guess that comes with maturity. Players are coming into 4th, 5th season now. Yeah. Could it be the year that Tom Powell finally breaks out? It's been the last couple of years. They've been talking him up a lot during the pre-season, Mark, and he has delivered, but probably not to the level that most people were hoping on a consistent basis anyway, whereas on the weekend he was quite good, and they haven't hyped him up too much this year, so maybe this year might be the year where we get the best of Tom Powell. Well, we're certainly hoping, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be difficult because he doesn't get the minutes in the middle that he'd probably like to. But I thought his decision-making was fantastic on the weekend, and he's got stronger as well and looks tougher. There's not many weaknesses in that midfield. With Wardlaw still to come in, it's pretty exciting.
No, that's exactly right. I'm just trying to look. He had 20 disposals, 4 clearances, 337 metres gained, 74% time on ground as well. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't eye-catching. He got a goal
kicked a great goal that got taken off.
yeah, which is a little bit unfortunate, but that's the sort of skill he has as well. So Harry Shearswell, we can't forget him, 31 disposals, 5 clearances, 5 tackles, 8 scoring involvements and a goal assist. He just continues to influence the game in so many ways.
5 tackles, that's pretty solid. From Harry.
He looks like he's put on probably 5 or 6 kilos of muscle in this off-season too. I mean, he's always been quite solid, but he looks quite strong in a contest now. Like, he doesn't lose balance. He keeps his feet. So, yeah.
I mean, when you think of Cherry in there, who's like another midfielder once the ball hits the ground, with his tackling and stuff, they're a pretty hard side to get out of the way. Excuse me, get out of the way at the moment. They're all pretty good inside, those guys. I mean, look, Luke Davies-Uniacke and McKerch are solid. They're all going to be good outside players, but there's a good blend.
No, definitely. Just on Tristan Xerri, no real concerns with the new ruck rule by the looks of it. I think
there's a few.
He lost the head-outs, but we kind of read it pretty
centre
well.
Yeah, we read it well, but the centre bounces, he's struggling to get his hands to the ball. In the first half, second half, not so much a problem because he batters the crap out of the other ruckman, and they can't leap, they can't jump so high by the second half. But the first quarter he was getting jumped all over in the centre bounces, but it wasn't really. By the second quarter, they'd worked out how to ruck to the other to visit team anyway.
And sometimes you have to do that, Mark. You just have to read it off the other. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
It's overrated.
Lose the hitters. Yeah, it is one of the more overrated things in football.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Cherry's value to the team is so good. Who cares? I mean, physically, what he does to the opposition's amazing. It's fantastic.
No, it definitely is. Now, the forward line, and it seems to everyone, I think we've mentioned a few times, they just played their role. It was a real team effort. Nick Larkey, the skipper, led the way with 4 goals and looked dangerous all day. Trembath, we've already spoken about him, but he's really exciting to watch. Seems to be death taxes and 3 goals for Cooper Trembath each week. But something I've really liked from the weekend is the 5th interchange rule as well. It feels like it keeps players like Jack Darling fresher across the whole game. And you can see the benefit of that. He was very good in the second half and looked strong when the game was there to be finished. I don't think he had much time on ground in the first half. If he did, it wouldn't have been much.
No.
Even Doniston probably was on and off a fair bit in the first half, but grew into the game nicely. You could see his confidence building as the match went on.
Got used to the speed a bit after half time, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But there's going to certainly be benefit with him there. Cameron Zurhaar, I think we spoke that he missed a couple of chances on another day he would normally kick. But the key thing is that forward line is getting supply. And when you deliver the ball well to that group, there's so much talent there that they can put on scores or have potential to put on scores quite quickly, just like they did in that burst late in the second quarter where you got LDU get a couple really clean clearances. I think Sheasel got one as well. If you get the ball down to them, I think they're going to put a good score on, Mark.
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago, it'd be like if you get on top of Larkey, there's nothing else. And Zurhaar was playing as the second key forward, which meant his matchup was difficult. Now he can just float around there. He's getting the 4th matchup or something now because they're worrying about Larkey, Trembath and Curtis. So Zurhaar's floating around. Darling can come on in the second half. He's almost playing now, which is ironic. When he was younger, he was an athletic type player with a big leap and super fast. Whereas now he just plays off power. He's very strong. He's really built himself up in his older age now and sort of realised, okay, if I'm going to be competitive, I need to use strength as an advantage. So during the second half, when other players get tired, he's actually using his body to outmaneuver players, and that seemed to make a big difference. I'll be honest. My view was I can't see any value. I couldn't see any value in playing him, especially when you've got Dersma in the side. So I was thinking, well, if Trembath's playing, then the 5th interchange needs to be Dersma as that other forward coming on. But they use both of them, and Darling was very good. You're right in the second half. So he made me look silly for having that opinion. If he keeps that up, then you'd think, well, that's going to work really well. But I thought Dersma did a lot of good things when he didn't have the ball and a lot of good tackling and pressure acts, which I hadn't seen from him in the past. His numbers were very small, but he kicked a great goal, obviously, in the second quarter. But I still think he'll have a breakout game sooner rather than later. It's hard for him because there's so many good players in that forward line at the moment.
And that's right, and that might be his role until injuries or suspensions. Touch wood that we don't get anything until something like that comes along. It would be nice. Now we talked about Jack Darling. Geez, it would be nice if we got Jack Darling when he was 28, 29, and Luke Parker when he was 29 or even 30. These boys around 30 years old. Geez, they were much different players back then. They're still very good. Good players for the AFL, and they belong in the system still. But just having those two boys, 3 or 4 years ago, it would have been quite nice. And you almost, it would almost add 3 or 4 more wins because that's how good they were. But we've got them now, and they're certainly showing their value. I was with you, Mark. Because It was only a few weeks ago they were talking about, well, it's either Cooper Trenbath or Jack Darling. And we said, well, it's got to be Cooper Trenbath. It can't be Jack Darling. You've got to go for the future.
Yeah.
But it looks like they can play all three together. It seemed to work pretty well.
Yeah. The interesting part will be is if Goad gets fit and starts dominating in the VFL, what they do then, because that's also going to be an option for them, and I mean Callum Coleman Jones as well. But look, Darling added a lot of value in that second half, so you can't. If that continues, then yeah, I can see a way for him to play through that the whole year. I mean, the fifth interchange makes it interesting, gives you more options. So we've got a lot of good players playing in the VFL at the moment as well that'll get a chance at some point when injury comes, and the fifth interchange makes it a lot more. You can try a few more variations. You can hold people back, as you said. Darling didn't play a lot in the first half, so when the speed's in the game, keep him out. When they get tired, bring him in, and his strength can be an advantage. And he's smart. Parker's just a smart player and he's tough. So playing him behind the ball where he can direct players in the back line. I mean, that right now, I mean, he was picked in the team of the week with a number of sides, I noticed in the media in this week. So, yeah, and that might add. He might get an extra year on his an extra year's contract playing like that. So that he might play that Luke Hodge role for the next 2 years. And the other thing is, Caleb Daniel. That's the best I've seen from his kicking since he's been at the club. He didn't miss on Sunday. So whatever the way we were playing, it worked for him. And maybe it's because they didn't rely on him as much with Parker there. I'm not sure.
There's always, ever since the first day he came into the club, Caleb Daniel, there's always been extra pressure on him being this elite ball user, and I don't think it's sat well with him. He was protected quite well at the Bulldogs with players around him who had good skills as well, so there wasn't as much tension going to him when he was at the Bulldogs, whereas North Melbourne, he was probably our one and only good ball user at the start of last year, so we put a lot of pressure on him with kickouts, and it didn't seem to go too well with him, and because of his defensive liabilities, it was exposed even further. So yeah, he probably had periods last year where he struggled. So whereas this year he with Tom Blamires coming in, Riley Hardiman will definitely come in. Unfortunately, Josh Goda did a hamstring again.
No! So it was a hamstring.
I think it was. Yeah, they're very cautious at the moment, not saying much, but which generally means it probably is. So,
oh man.
Yeah, and we got other options that in the back line that can certainly help him and free him up a little bit more and not put too much pressure on him to be that elite.
By the way, talking of the back, I'm not sure whether you would have noticed this being at the game. There was a period, I think it was the last quarter. The ball was out the boundary line. I think we were only 4 goals up at the time, but Luke McDonald laughed at Jason Horne-Francis. Did you see that?
He was melting down in the second quarter. Sorry, I'll get back to that, Mark.
Yeah.
He was melting down in the second quarter. He was starting to whinge at his teammates about not getting elite supply and being a victim that he does. And Luke Davies-Uniacke went straight to him and got stuck straight into him. And it sort of coincided, his meltdown coincided with the rest of the team starting to melt down as well. And then, and Luke McDonald was certainly getting into him all game whenever he matched up on him when he was forward.
The players don't like him, that's for sure. So
I don't think it's that. I think it's more they know how to stir him up because they know he will melt down when he gets in the wrong headspace, which is quite often, more often than it should be for a 22-year-old.
Well, it can go both ways with him. You can stir him up and he goes berserk.
Yeah. So if he's at home playing against West Coast, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Yeah. Well, Luke McDonald was genuinely just laughing. Like it wasn't a fake laugh. He was literally finding it funny. So, I enjoyed that.
Oh, look. Full credit to Horne-Francis. Straight after the game, he went and shook everyone's hand, and he was quite happy to, move forward. Not that we want to give him too much credit, but I don't know.
Well, it'd be a worry if he did want to do that. If he was refusing to shake people's
Oh,
hands.
look, I mean, yeah, there might be some bitter feelings from him towards us and from us towards him, but I think he's happy to move forward. And once the game's over, he moves forward and goes on to next week. But yeah,
I don't think that
he's very underdone too.
Yeah, very. I don't think that'll be an ongoing thing. I think that's it now. Surely, like we can move on from that.
Oh, look, I moved on the day he left. It's like going back to thinking about your ex-girlfriend all 3 years after it's happened, and you've been married and met someone else. You just that's life, unfortunately, and it didn't work out for him here. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's ever going to grow up, and he's just as likely to get 30 touches this week and kick 3 goals. That's a problem. The difference between his best and worst is very big. But we're not here to talk about him, Mark.
No.
What do you make of Colby McKercher almost playing as a centre-half forward? He was on a minutes restriction, only had 64% time on ground as well. Until he gets, I suppose, fully fit, that might be his role right now, but it looked pretty good, especially when we're getting those really good clean centre clearances either through LDU or Sheasel. He was a good link in the chain there for a couple of times because of his line-breaking speed.
Mate, his speed is unbelievable.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of, I don't know if you remember this.
Why is he on limited minutes? He injured his finger, not his legs.
I thought it was, I'm not 100% sure.
How can you be on limited minutes with a finger injury? It doesn't make any sense.
They haven't really, I don't really trust his fitness guy, to be honest with you.
I just find that bizarre. Like, how many games, did he play in the Melbourne game?
Did he play the Melbourne game? No, he didn't. No, he didn't play that one.
Okay.
He didn't play. He didn't play last week either against Collingwood.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Then it's just he hasn't had enough game time.
Yeah, I don't think it's. Yeah, I think
they weren't worried about his finger. They were worried about him doing a hammy or something like that, fatiguing. I'm assuming he can't be worried about his finger getting tired. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So it must have been. Yeah, they worried about fatigue with his soft tissue issue. I can assume, but he's never had a soft tissue injury, so it's odd. But they could have done as much training and running into him while his finger was hurt as they wanted. So, yeah, I just don't quite understand that. But anyway, he was on restricted minutes. To me, I mean, he'll just keep getting better. Like, he's a freak. Like, I love him running straight at the goals like that. The more opportunity you can give for him, especially with the way they run it, doing the stand rule, there's opportunity for him to be running through that forward line, certainly out of the back line through the middle of the ground. I think he's going to be a very damaging player for us this year. No surprise to anyone, but the change in that stand rule thing makes him a very important player. No,
definitely. It's a couple of times when he was going through on goal, he kicked one with that leg speed.
He nearly did it a second time, yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of Brett Ellison in the 90s when he used to swoop.
Yes. Very true.
Yeah, similar with the left foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of gets the crowd going too.
It's exciting when he does that.
Yeah. Look, do you think that could be a role for him? It looks like, I don't know when he gets fully fit or when his time on ground goes up because of 64% over the weekend, whether it gets to 85% this week. Whether they may look to put him back in the back line, but I don't see it at the moment, especially with the back line and Tom Blamires. They found him from nowhere. I don't see him going back there anytime soon, Mark.
No, I think Blamires, I mean, you have to assume he can only get better. I mean, the guy's been in the club for 3 weeks. He's never been in the AFL environment. Sure, like his upside must be fantastic. Interesting, I've read a few articles about him today, and his Frankston coach who also coached him at junior level and basically kept his morale up when things weren't going his way after not getting drafted, then being rejected by Sandringham even in 22. He was the guy that kept him going. Anyway, his view was he's just sort of played whenever he goes up a level, he adapts very quickly, which he's proven clearly with what he did on the weekend. But to have 23 disposals in your first game, he didn't look out of play. He wasn't flustered. He wasn't making mistakes. His decision making like Marvel's as quick as it gets in AFL footy. Like under the roof, there's no wind. Just it's it's always fast moving at Marvel generally. He was unbelievably composed for someone who'd never been in that situation before. So I'm only assuming he'll get better. I can't see him going backwards. It's like Trent Barth. It's all upside.
Well, he looked like a 150 game player.
Amazing. He's like between him and Trent Barth to get those blokes for nothing. And funnily enough, Trent Barth came after Banch. Like he kicked 3, by the way, and look apparently
best on ground too.
Yeah, look. So he'll get a run again soon. Constantly will be looking over his shoulder at him. He did constantly just jumping to him for a second. He didn't seem to be on the ground that much during the game. It felt like he wasn't.
Well, he had the least amount of time on ground for a North player, 59%.
Yeah, there you go. It felt like that too.
I almost forgot he was playing for a period there. The only time I remember is when he tried to make a spoil on Mitch Georgiades there for a period where he was about 35 metres out. I think it might have been the third quarter. He tried to make a spoil, and I thought, oh, geez, I didn't even realise he was playing. But, yeah, he didn't get much time on ground.
So they might look at George Wardlaw and go, well, we can play him 50% game time.
Yeah, I don't think there's any rush with George Wardlaw.
I agree. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't rush him to Perth. They may look at that in the VFL.
I think you know what? I think they'll have to go unchanged. You can't say play your role. Right. You play your role and you'll be rewarded. And then win by 46 points and someone get dropped, particularly if they've only been put on the ground for half the game. So they probably can't drop constantly. They'll probably go unchanged this week, barring injury, which I don't think there were any. So
no suspensions either. So
I think it might be harder to go out than to come in this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
George will play against Essendon, no question. But they might wait though.
Well, yeah, look, we'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, like you mentioned, I don't think anyone can really come out of that team. We talk about Costanti, but that's not a like-for-like Costanti for George Wardlaw. That's another midfielder. And with the midfield, how they dominated, you just keep the same mix until it doesn't work. So,
well, it's amazing they didn't even have to put Parker into that midfield.
No, he won't be back there. No, not anytime soon. I wouldn't think. So probably don't have to.
No, absolutely don't.
No, but any other thoughts on the game, Mark? Before we move on and talk about Alistair Clarkson.
No, I think we've covered. I think Doverston's the one that we'll see big upside this week.
Yeah, that's a good opportunity against a West Coast team that did okay in the second half after a pretty ordinary first half over the weekend against Gold Coast. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But we probably have to talk about the coach, Clarkson. Now, he's been under enormous pressure, not just from the media, but from our own supporters as well. There's a really powerful article in the Herald Sun during the week about how much the past few years have affected him and his family and friends, close friends as well. We've spoken about it off air before, Mark, and we've both wondered whether everything that's gone on may have taken a toll on him. At times, he hasn't quite looked like the same Clarkson we've known for so long. And during the game, there was a moment where he looked quite emotional in the box, and I think it's a reminder for all of us that these people are human beings. They have families, they have feelings, and when you're dealing with accusations, especially something as serious as what he's faced, I guess it's bound to affect you and probably affect how you do your job as well, Mark.
Well, he had to step away, so it had a horrific effect on him.
But even after a few years, it's still looks like it's played on his mind there.
Yeah, I think now he is past it. I don't think we can say it's having an effect on his ability to coach any longer. I think we certainly could say that in year one and a big chunk of year two. And I think he would say that he wasn't able to coach anywhere near to the level he would have liked during his first 2 years. So in his mind, he's probably in year three rather than his fourth year. But that said, I also agree with what David King said during the week. You can't have him coming out and saying the top 10 gives us a chance to play finals this year. Then a few weeks later saying I'm here, it might take 10 years. But that I agree with what David King said. That I didn't like that either.
I agree.
They had. I was fine with him saying top 10. Yep, that's what we're aiming for. You got to once you say that, you've got to stay with that. You can't then go, I might take 10. That was a bit messy, and I think the president did the right thing when she came out and said, "Enough's enough. It's time. It's not about potential anymore. You've got to start delivering." And they copped all of that pressure, the coach and the players. And I think Clarkson knew, you can spin it whatever way you like. It's not about 10 years. You've got 6 rounds to probably show that we're heading in the right direction, or you're going to be under pressure as the coach. He knew that. I think a lot of that emotion that you saw from him during the second quarter was probably a lot to do with what he copped over the last couple of weeks from the media. It's interesting that he felt that emotional, that he saw that wasn't the last quarter. They could have still lost by 8 goals.
Yeah, so I don't mean to laugh about it.
I just find it interesting that he could. I mean, this is how I say this as a compliment to him, that he understands footy enough to know that what he was seeing during the second quarter was so significant that he knew it wasn't going to change during the second half, because otherwise he wouldn't have been getting emotional. Because it would have looked ridiculous if he got emotional watching that and then walked off the ground. We lost by 80 points. So, I was excited. I was going ballistic, jumping off my chair in the second quarter when we had that burst in the last few minutes with McKercher and Luke Davies-Uniacke doing what he was doing, and then when Dersma kicked that goal, you had to be excited as a supporter. And yes, he was emotional, but he was emotional because he could see that something had changed. And I don't think it was because those goals. I think it was the way they were playing, and I think he knew that wasn't going to change. So that's probably more reason for optimism than anything else, that there's something significant has changed in the way they're thinking, and he knows that. Otherwise, I don't think he would have been reacting that way. I think he finally saw the message that he wanted, and I think it's about role-playing rather than individuals. I think that might be the hardest thing as a coach, to get a young group to understand, because they're playing for their individual lives as players and their livelihood. It's hard for them to understand that if I just play my role, I'll be okay, when they're all battling to earn as much money as they can and all that sort of stuff. It's really, unless you get the chance to talk to some of those players and those coaches and understand that dynamic, it's hard to understand from a supporter perspective, but it must be real, because it's one of the hardest things to do, to get players to do it.
Well, it's one of the hardest jobs too.
Yeah.
Everything's on you as a coach. Wins, losses, pretty much everything. And it's not the accusations that happened at the time, but it was just the whole situation. In many ways, it felt like parts of the media had already decided he was guilty before anything had properly played out. I know you were a staunch supporter on X when you were on X, Mark, that people were accusing him and they already found him guilty. You also have to look at the role of the AFL at the time. Gil McLachlan, the leadership.
Disgraceful. I found the whole thing absolutely vile. There'd been no proof of anything. I think it's very sad also that Clarkson said at the time, why aren't people who know the truth speaking out?
Yeah.
It was just...
And that's the AFL too. Gil McLachlan.
Oh, disgusting. Gil's saying, don't worry about it. Dill will sort it out for you and blah, blah, blah. He's getting massacred. He's absolutely... His whole personality and his family having to cop it as well. That their father's a horrific racist and doing all these shocking things that never happened. And then, of course, it's 2 years later before the truth starts coming out. Anyway, I mean, it's no point going back over it. It's just, unfortunately, that's this sort of stuff. People get cancelled. And this is the problem. I don't like extreme left and I don't like extreme right. Right-wing thinking, extreme left-wing thinking. I think it's bad both ways.
Oh, 100%.
And this is what happens. You get just the tiniest sniff, this guy's a racist, and straight away the media, all over SE. I'll never forget SEN that day. I won't talk about the people that
Andy
were doing
Marr and
it.
Andrew Gaze. Yeah.
Yeah. And they just went straight to guilty.
Yeah.
Like, and people say he can never coach again, and like it was just absolutely horrific. And it's not just him, because he'd be upset about his daughter and his son having to hear this, at school, at uni, in their jobs or whatever else, and his wife wherever she's going. It's not just the person involved; it's their families. So you'd think he'd think he'd murdered people the way he was treated by the press. But and you had Caroline Wilson and Kane Corns absolutely going ballistic at him.
Yeah, Mark Robinson.
Yeah, Mark Robinson was disgraceful. Like, it was just... Anyway, we can't... It's, 2 or 3 years ago now. But, yes, at the time I thought it was horrific, and I still do. And I feel like he hasn't got... There's been no consequences for the people that did that. He obviously just let it go. He should... I don't know whether there's been some settlements out of court or whatever. I hope so. I hope he's got compensated for what he went through. But... if there's karma in the world, things will go his way for the rest of this year and onwards. But as a club, we can't keep looking back at that. And he's still got to perform as a coach, though, now. We can't be making allowances for that going forward.
No. I was actually chatting to a Hawthorn supporter at the gym the other day, and even he said that a lot of the former players from that era probably could have gone into bat for him. And they didn't. They just hid behind a wall.
Luke Hodge was probably about the only one who did.
Yeah, Luke Hodge. Maybe Jordan Lewis, but he was very, very soft in his approach, trying to be very careful. But, you had Sean Burgoyne could have, come out as well.
I think the only other one who came out supportive was the Loudon, the 2008 captain. Oh, not captain. He played his last game in the 2008 flag.
Oh, Crawford.
He was supportive.
Yeah.
But that was about it.
No, that's right. No, I think that probably hurts just as much as the accusations, to be honest.
I think and I think, it's interesting the Brisbane coach.
Fagan as well.
Fagan coped a lot better. He
said he didn't want to go outside. Fagan.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, even he struggled with it, but sometimes we put on a mask too, Mark, and just put on a brave face, even though deep inside you don't know what's going on. So and I'm sure the other guy that
Fagan living in Brisbane probably made it easy.
Yeah, it probably helped a little bit. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But I think the reality now, Mark, is that the game and Clarkson himself just has to move forward. The focus is back on coaching, on the players, and on building something positive again at North Melbourne. And maybe a win like this with the players rallying and showing that kind of effort is a good step in that direction. That's all we can ask, I guess, Mark.
Oh, look, I know people are worried that it might be similar to the Melbourne game last year. I don't think it was. I think the reason Clarkson was so emotional is that something significant has changed at the club. And if you listen to the players post game, they're still talking about we just need to play our role. We just need to play our role. It's not about who's the star. It's about everyone doing their bit. And I think if they continue to think and act like that, then we'll get beaten. We're gonna lose games this year, but of course. But we'll be competitive most weeks if they've got that attitude. Things will go off. There'll be, we'll have injuries and other stuff. But the one thing that's going to be really important in the next 2 or 3 weeks is that they continue that attitude. If they do that, they're going to come. They'll hit round 6 and they'll have won 4 games. I've got no doubt. If they continue to play like that with that little level of defensive effort, the midfielders are playing like that with the 2 wingers doing their job that way. It's very hard for us to get beaten badly. That's for sure.
Oh, I mean, we don't want to get too excited after one game, but it's certainly good signs. And it starts again this week against West Coast. Good opportunity for North to start the season 2 and zip against a side that that's also in a rebuilding phase. Games like this are important because they're the ones you really need to take advantage of if you want to build momentum early in the season. And Mark, starting the season till it's 0, with a good percentage and a good opportunity to get another really good win would be massive confidence for this group and the supporters as well.
Yeah, well, the alternative is like not an option. They've got to have a good win this week. I mean, West Coast, and you'll never hit them at a worse time for that club in terms of their confidence. The AFL did not do them any favours at all, sending them to play Gold Coast for their first game away. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking. That was a crazy idea, but certainly helped Gold Coast, give them an easy. Like by half time, it looked like it'd be a 180-point win for them. It was catastrophic for the AFL, but they slackened off and West Coast improved in the second half. But they're really struggling. Their pre-season was terrible in terms of the games they played. I think Port Adelaide beat them by 60, 70 points in a practice match in Perth.
Yeah, the last one, yeah.
Yeah, so they're struggling. They're really struggling at the moment. And if you looked at their coach in the coach's box a few times, he looks like stressed, as in didn't know what to do. Look, he almost looked panicked. McWalter, I feel for him. It's an awful situation to be in. But anyway, we need to take advantage of that this week and probably have a similar 46-point win or better, 10-goal win this week. That's what the media and the supporters will probably be expecting. Doesn't always work that way. As long as they get the 4 points, that's the main thing. Different ground. It's quite a wide ground, isn't it? Optus Oval. It's certainly long.
Yeah, it certainly seems bigger than normal average oval. But
yeah, it's usually pretty open there. So fast moving. It should suit us down to the ground. I must admit, we've become a very physical side. Like there's a lot of guys. Like you've got Parker, you've got Cherry, you've got Zerha. Some big, strong players in there at the moment, which is making Finn O'Sullivan, although he's only second-year player, is pretty physical. Luke David Unigak strong, and Curtis is physical. So we've got some strong players in there at the moment. That's actually quite exciting.
And I think we've already spoken about this, but you don't expect any team changes going into this Sunday?
No, I don't think there'll be none.
No, I think we stick with what we've got. And the problem is this stupid VFL fixture, they've got the bye this week. So,
man.
Yeah, I know. So it doesn't give opportunities like Hardiman, Wardlaw.
Bench.
Yeah, another game and another opportunity.
Yeah.
And a good opportunity to get some match fitness.
They'll be playing a practice match, though, wouldn't they? They'd have to.
I haven't looked too deep into it, but you'd certainly hope so.
Yeah,
I think they've got to do something because you want to give Hardiman, Wardlaw match fitness. Because you want, if they're an opportunity to come in, in the next couple of weeks, you want to get them in prime conditions. So.
By the way, talking of the VFL, River Stevens looks like he's put on some weight.
Yeah, it certainly looks like he's put on a few kilos. It was pretty skinny last year, so
tiny. But he looks like he's put on 7 or 8 kilos to me.
He kind of has to.
He did absolutely have to. But it's interesting. So apparently they were all very instrumental in the win. Banch, Stevens, and Fisher were all really good pressure-wise. Banch obviously best on ground. So there's a lot of competition in that small forward area at the moment. We went a bit overboard there, but that's okay. That's like there'll be injuries will happen. People will get their chance. But it's good they seem to be playing a similar game style.
Yeah, well, so they should.
Yeah,
because Tom Lynch has gone into the senior group, while Adam Macron is going to coach the VFL this year. So
yes,
so it'll be interesting to see how they go in a few. I think they've got the Bombers first up next week. I think that's the first game of the season for the VFL. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, so hopefully we can get the double over them this year, but we'll get through West Coast this week, and that's all we can do, Mark.
Yeah, that's right.
Prediction for that game? What do you expect?
Look, I would hope for a 40-point win. Anything above that will be fantastic, but I just want them to get the 4 points. win the first 2 games and build from there. Like, we're playing away. We've got to go to Perth. They'll be desperate in front of their home crowd.
Yeah.
They'll try to build on the second half against Gold Coast. And the worst thing that we can do is be a bit overconfident coming out of the Port Adelaide game and start to get too excited. So the talk from the players was very quickly like, we've got to focus on next week. They didn't sound like they were getting carried away to me. So I'm not too bothered. I think they've had a gutful of losing and false dawns and whatever. I think they know they've got to refocus very quickly. With blokes like Parker and Darling around, I don't think they're going to get carried away. I think they've got their heads screwed on pretty well at the moment.
Well, it certainly seems like it. Certainly good signs, even though it has only been one game.
Don't forget that team they were under so much pressure going into that game. The fact they've delivered makes me think they'll give them confidence to do even better. So I think that might be the baseline. I don't think that'll be the end. Last year it was like great win over Melbourne, fell backwards, great win over Carlton at the MCG. Both times I thought, here we go, and then both times they fell away. I don't feel like that will happen this time, but we'll see.
We've been wrong before, Mark. So.
Yeah, I've been wrong plenty of times the last 6 years.
Yeah, I think we all have. And you've lost a fair bit of money over those.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Yeah, it might be the time to recoup some of those losses.
Well, I'm very happy with my bet on Cooper Trembath to win the Rising Star this year. It might take the media a while to catch on, but he's a very exciting prospect.
Well, he might win the Coleman medal if he kicks 3 goals a game. Keeps doing that. 23 rounds, 69 goals. That'll probably win it, Mark.
He's a freakish talent, and he's just a great personality. Like,
he's a good guy, isn't he? Like,
he's just got a huge smile. He's just obviously the other players love him, but mate, he's not just taking grabs. It was a great tackle that he did in I think third quarter, that resulted in a goal, and he's kicking for goals pretty good too. So it's not like he's spraying it everywhere. He's a really exciting, like his leap, his strength, his leap, his attitude, he's got a good tank. And he's good when the ball hits the ground. He's clean, so he can only get better. That guy. It's just, I don't know how they've ended up picking him up for getting him for nothing and hiding him away in Blackburn last year. But as we said, it's a superb piece of recruiting.
No, definitely. Well, I think Liam Shields played a game against him because he still plays local football.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So obviously he might have seen a little bit more and thought, yep, let's get this bloke. No one knows who he is, and which worked out pretty well. Who knows how many others there are like that out in the system?
It makes you wonder. I mean, he wasn't even our first. He was our second pick in the mid-season draft.
Yeah, it was just a pretty much. It was a lottery ticket, really, and yeah, we won the big jackpot. So
you look back and you go, "What the fuck were you doing taking him second pick?" Like, don't risk. Anyway, I mean, I'm just so happy we've got him. He's just, terrific. I mean, look, and then we probably underplayed Chom's game on the weekend as well, but that goal he kicked in the second quarter, he's almost become almost a barometer for that side. When he's playing well, it seems to lift everyone.
Well, it just goes to show if there's pressure up the field and teams have to kick long, we've got good players in the air like Comben, Logue.
He's just so courageous too. Like,
it
worries me when he flies backwards. Like he nearly killed Logue at one stage, but he's a tough unit. But Jesus, he takes some risks. But yeah, he's fun to watch.
No, exactly. So, yeah, long may that continue. He's certainly had some big games. And generally, when he plays well, the team
that's right.
Pretty well.
He's a bit of a barometer, Chom.
Yeah, well, he's gone into the leadership group this year as well. So, full credit to him for that. Obviously, they see something in that. So, that's good to hear. Well, Mark, do you want to edit anything else before I let you go?
No, may long these type of podcasts continue for the rest of the year. When usually we come on and we're sort of trying to find something positive to talk about. It wasn't hard this week.
No, it definitely wasn't. Yeah, there's a lot of positives and nothing really negative, which is very rare. So, yeah,
No,
long
that's
may
right.
it, yeah, like you said, long may it continue. But Mark, thanks so much for coming on the podcast again. Always great to get your insights and break down the game with you.
Thanks, buddy. Let's looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, same. And thanks to everyone for listening to Hashtag Kangaroos. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe, share it with your fellow North Melbourne supporters, and keep the conversation going. We'll be back Thursday for team news to preview the game against West Coast and see if the Roos can make it 2 in a row. Until then,